Hey, it's been a super long day. I've been wanting to make a video for the last 2 days, honestly, and it was how to maintain your focus, how to basically not let the devil distract you or those karmics, the toxic people that come along, and you're on a path, right? You're like, oh, I'm doing great. I've got all these goals, these aspirations. I'm gonna achieve all of this, and then you meet one of them, and you're like, squirrel. And like that, I mean, you get diverted. And this can take days, weeks, months, years, depending on how long it takes for you to catch on to the fact that, oh, I'm not supposed to be with them. I see. Like, you start realizing there's someone that's breadcrumbing you, or they're presenting illusions, false narratives, things that making you promises that they have no intention of keeping. They just want to get whatever it is they're after for the moment. But I was thinking that when you can learn to stay focused on what you're after, so when you hear that, you don't flinch, you don't look, it's like the blinders, and you just like, it's all about me. I can't see anything. So when you put this on and you can begin to focus in the direction that you are trying to go, you'll stop finding yourself being stalled and having these blockages and things that make you just feel like you're wasting your life. And I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact that we're here for a greater purpose. And a lot of it is to resurrect that feeling of love, acceptance, compassion, things that, like, my grandparents were older. My grandmother was born, I think, 1917, and my grandfather was 1912. So they were way different than most people's grandparents because they were 20 years older than even my dad's parents. So it was weird having two different dynamics, but at the same time I got to see a portion of a life that existed that most people weren't aware of, because that was their great grandparents when it was my grandparents. But like I said, if you can learn to not flinch, you can keep going in the direction in which you want to go, because that requires energy to what? Oh, I didn't hear you. Now we're going to conversate. That begins to get to a point where you're taking that energy where you were using for your forward movement, your growth, your goals, your planning, um, building your foundation, right? So when you take that energy and you apply it in other places, all of a sudden you're finding that you're drained. Like today, I mean, I went to work and came home and just like basically zombied out. And I finally ate some food, but it's still, I'm about to go to bed 2.5, 3 hours after I got home from work, and get up at 7 something in the morning and do my routine all over again. But that's life right now. Trying to help my children get where they need to be, trying to keep my sanity. And I know we're all going through it. And that's where these distractions add an extra burden, that weight. Because if someone's just trying to get your attention with no intention of equally sharing the burdens, or like you talk out your issues, right? You work as a team. That's a healthy relationship. When you lean against each other, Bubba and Forrest Gump, you lean against me and I lean against you so we don't wind up with our heads in the mud. We all need that buddy in our life, whether it's platonic, family, romantic, however it is. The biggest dream is to have that romantic partner that is your best friend, that is always there for you, that you can rely on, you can be vulnerable with, you can open up to, and know that they're going to be a good support system for you. because not all people are toxic, but I know we've all dealt with someone that's toxic, and it has put that stall in our heart, where you're like, but I'm scared. And it's funny because we do things for adventure that get our adrenaline pumping. But when it comes to facing that fear and that same adrenaline pumping to be vulnerable and open with others, we tend to pull back out of fear of judgment or whatever it is. We don't consider the fact that when we go on an adventure and we pump our adrenaline, we might not survive. Most people don't consider that. But for some reason, something that you can recover from to most people is more devastating than if they were to lose their life. And of course, that makes total sense because they're not going to be around to witness the grief. They're not going to be around to see what others are going through because of the situation. Whereas when we do confront love with an open heart and do risk the chance of getting hurt, when we go through that heartbreak, we have to do it alone. And I think most people fear the concept of being alone. And it's because when you're alone, that's where you face your demons. When you're alone, that's where you can begin to feel lonely. When there's nobody around you, the silence gets so loud. And then you start mulling over everything you've done in your life, all of the things that you screwed up and how you could have done it different. But that's the magic. When you get to the point of having to face yourself and you can do it without blaming others, that's when you can begin to heal. That's when, say you broke your leg and you're having to lay in bed and sit with it elevated for however long till you can move around. That's when the true healing is going on. Because when you go back to utilizing it, that's when you're putting pressure and you're making it strain, and it's not getting that chance to completely heal in a faster manner. But that's where those distractions come in. So as we begin to find ourselves alone, a lot of times people will begin to reach out to others to distract themselves. They'll bury themselves in work to distract themselves, start overindulging and partying and just making themselves not be alone. And that's where we get to a point where we're refusing to heal and grow. And when you refuse maturing, you aren't really going to become fruitful. And that goes to not everybody's here for the same purpose. I read the other day that some people are here to remind us of how we don't want to be or how we could be if we don't choose to heal. And we all know those people that hurt us. We have been those people at some point. But some people do choose to grow and expand. And it's if you can keep going through the storms and even the winters, that when the leaves fall and you can see that things have to be stripped away in order for new growth to occur. That if you can look at it like that, you can begin to accept the reality of life. When you look at it like Shrek, ogres have layers, onions have layers. I don't know why that always makes me chuckle. But when it comes down to it, if you can begin to see that the seed is inside, right? Where you're going to bear the fruit from, to get it out, you have to peel away. You have to remove the mask first, which is facing your own ego and saying you really serve no purpose in my life anymore. At one point, we did need ego when, cavemen were dragging cave women around by their hair and, no, my spot. And they were fighting over land and it just, or safe spots to sleep, right? But when it comes down to it, that ego is the only thing that keeps us competing and tearing one another down rather than going, I can open up my heart. I can look from a spiritual point rather than an egotistical one. Because when you can see from a spiritual standpoint, you can realize that everybody has a soul. You can even begin to see the levels of how far they've come, you know? And a lot of times we can help one another on that path. It takes holding ourselves accountable. It takes having courage and strength. It means you have to become vulnerable. It means you have to be okay with being hurt. And you have to realize at some point you've hurt someone else. So when you can look at the fact what goes around comes around, if you're willing to take that walk, yeah, you're going to run into situations that are going to teach you a few more lessons. And it's funny because my mama never called them, I don't know why I went to boo-boos, but when anybody would get hurt, it was a book, not a boo-boo, because you could write a book over how you got that boo-boo and what you learned. So when we can get to that point of being okay with writing a book, sharing our stories, helping one another, you know, straighten each other's crown, and you don't even got to say the damn thing was crooked. It's just like when you fall down, you just got to get back up. You know, there's nobody that has succeeded in life by trying once, failing, and going, nah, that's not for me. That's not how it works. It does take courage on every aspect to become a master, to become someone that is a little bit more advanced and knowledgeable in whatever avenue they're speaking of. So when we get to a point that we can begin to be vulnerable and open ourselves back up, is when we will start to see the fruits of our labors, let's say. And when we don't have to labor so hard to obtain the fruits, there is a balance with the universe. And I have to keep reminding myself. I even went to bed last night and said, I know you're not bitter. I know you don't hold any grudge against me. I'm just an energetic portion of your existence. And of course, you want what's best for that part of you, because we're all tied. We're all connected. I won't say tied, but we're all interconnected. So if you go around hurting someone else, trying to feel like you're a big shot, you've only hurt yourself. And in the end, you've gained karma because you're going to run into somebody who's willing to hurt you the way that you were willing to hurt somebody else. And really, it's that ego. If you can just put it to the side and say, I don't really need that mask anymore. And, well, let me just dust my shoulders off and here, go, judge me. Go ahead and judge me. Because even a guy that I work with, the one I told off the other day, said, everyone's always judging me. Can't stand when people judge me. And I said, dude, you worry about too much what other people think. I don't give a shit if people judge me. And he was like, you don't care if people judge you? I was like, no, why would I care? They don't know me. They don't know what's here and here. They don't have a freaking clue what I go through every day. Why would their judgment mean anything to me? Their judgment doesn't say if I am a good person or a bad person, if I succeed or I fail. Like, why place value on their opinion when it doesn't pertain to my life? And if we can all get to that point, that's where you start getting that control back. This no longer bothers you. The energy remains with you. You get to a point where you're like, oh, I get it. If I can just kind of tune out the static, I can actually become abundant, fruitful, and prosperous. It's really simple. And if people aren't serving your higher good and they're wasting your time and they're wanting to play a game of tag and they're living their life and you're not getting to live yours because you're too busy worried about theirs, cut ties, save your energy, let them grow up, and just keep moving forward. Give yourself time to heal if it hurt that bad, and just remember to love yourself. Because like I said, no one else can judge you. If you don't like yourself or you feel responsible for how someone else is treating you, either you need to consider who you are as a person, or you need to sit down and really get real with yourself and learn to love you for you. because I'm even having to remind my daughter once again that the happiness you seek, the acceptance you seek, the love that you seek, it's internal. It's not external. If you keep looking outside to get that, you're going to end up in a toxic relationship because now you're becoming codependent on somebody else to dictate your mood every moment of the day. Don't let other people's actions affect you. Instead, learn to be okay with choosing to focus on you and ignore the distractions. You have a lot of power in you. Use it. Peace out.